Demonic is the latest film from director Neill Blomkamp, who directed District 9, Chappie, and Elysium. He's continuing his trademark of low-budget, high-concept films, and this one being filmed in secret in Canada during the pandemic. And while I'm going to be straight with you right off the bat, this is not a good movie, but it's actually incredibly fun. Welcome to Dylan Has Movies. I'm Dylan, and I have movies. I'm not the biggest fan of Blomkamp. I saw District 9 when it first came out, did nothing for me. I neglected to watch Chappie or Elysium because I didn't like District 9, but I saw some production images and the poster for Demonic, and I thought, you know what, maybe I'll give it a shot. It looks kind of interesting. So I watched it. It is an absurd mess, but I would be lying if I said I didn't like it. Demonic revolves around Carly, a late 30-something who is contacted by a group working at a medical complex who have started taking care of her estranged comatose mother. They offer to hook her up to a machine that has the ability to digitize her and import her into the mind of her mother to inquire about a terrible crime she committed 20 years ago. Carly, who is initially reluctant to confront her mother, decides that perhaps she should, as this could lead to a form of closure. But at the insistence of the company looking after her, she finds herself doing multiple sessions in the hopes of finding out what exactly made her commit the atrocities. But at the same time, she's taking pieces of the experiment home with her, as things might not be exactly what they first appeared to be. So from here on out, there will be spoilers in this video for the entire film. I'm going to ruin everything. I don't want to do that, but I also really want to talk about this movie, and I can't talk about this movie without addressing some of the best moments of the film for me. So if you do want to watch this film, skip to the timestamp right here. Other than that, let's go down the rabbit hole. My biggest complaint about Demonic is that it simply doesn't make any sense. And like a poorly woven blanket, it comes apart immediately once you start to tug at the seams. The plot holes are large enough to drive cars through, and while the concept is kind of interesting, the whole subplot about digitizing someone to go into the mind of another person, like the 2000 film The Cell, it could have been removed entirely, and you'd have had basically the same outcome. Demonic feels like a college-level film, not in the concept, but instead the execution. The concept is relatively interesting, but it has almost no bearing on the plot once you start to think about it. Carly enters her mother's mind and talks with her mother's memory, and she reveals that something else is in here with her, and the plot thickens. She begins to see weird and monstrous visions outside the digital world, and we soon learn that her mother set fire to an old folks' home and poisoned a bunch of people at a church, which resulted in 25 deaths. We also learn that it was due to her being possessed by a demon, the kind of demon where we never learn its name, where it came from, how it chose this woman, and why exactly it might want Carly. So characters in the film for some reason say, oh, the demon is hunting you, or this creature, it's coming after you. How do they know that? How do they know that it wants Carly specifically? Because there's no information given to the audience or any of the other characters that imply that they would know exactly why it wants Carly. Because it has connections to her mother. We see it possess other people throughout the film. So its reasonings behind why it wants Carly specifically is tenuous at best. It doesn't make any sense. There's no reason for it. It's just because the plot says so. At some point in the film, Carly's old friend admits to knowing more than he's letting on and reveals a hidden shipping container that he's got all this information on the demon, and he knows that the demon is some sort of ancient form and that has been lurking around for centuries, and for reasons unbeknownst to us, he has withheld this information to the daughter of the woman who was possessed by it. So this is the point of the film that is my favorite moment out of the entire thing. I was laughing so hard I had tears. I just couldn't believe it. I was wheezing. I was. The conspiracy theorist, the friend of Carly, says that the Vatican is funding a Black Ops, Spec Ops group that fights monsters or some shit. That's the plot to Clive Barker's Jericho. But the part that really got me is like they're doing like a training day setup where everyone's like pulling out the cabinets and they're opening all the guns, and you see like guns lined in these cabinets, and there's like these crosses in like embedded in the wall, and the camera turns around and you see like the one really buff dude like putting on his shirt from behind, and you just get like the scarification of a cross between his shoulder blades, and I was cackling like a bog witch thinking about it now, and I just lost it. The movie was really stupid. up until that point, and there was a lot of moments where I was like chuckling. I'm like, oh, it's kind of stupid but fun. But that was the up on the roller coaster. And when I saw him with the scar, the cross on his back was going over the edge, it was fantastic. It was so stupid. Oh my god. There's even a scene near the end of the film where she finds a whole bunch of these Spec Ops members they've been murdered by this demon, and one of them's like bleeding out, and he's just like, "Ugh, Carly, here," and he reaches into his tactical vest and pulls out this dagger and goes, "This is the lance of the Vatican. It's the only thing that can kill the demon." Why did you have it in your pocket? That's probably why all your men are dead. No one thought to glue this bitch to the end of a barrel and bayonet the demon's ass. They're just, I'm gonna keep this in my pocket. So he keeps it in his pocket, and then the squad gets killed. So Carly confronts the demon and defeats it. It sends her mother's soul to the afterlife, or the next level of reboot, or whatever, and lives happily ever after. Which is fine, the story is good with a happy ending, but getting there is following a checklist of tropes and idiotic narrative decisions while the plot coasted along on cruise control. Most of the performances in the film aren't very good, the role of Sam specifically, and the special effects already look dated as hell. I get what they're going for, and I appreciate that this is a pretty interesting concept, but the technology is not there for it. The demon looks rather generic, it's a crow-human hybrid, but worse off is the fact that the demon is clearly a man in a suit. It felt like Neill was dying to shoot something during the pandemic, and I can appreciate the urge to make a movie, but this is something that needed a lot more time devoted to it, because it has all these ideas, but with that many balls in the air, something is bound to be dropped. I know it sounds like I'm being really, really hard and unfair on this movie, and the movie is definitely not without its faults or flaws, because it is nowhere near being a good film, but it is incredibly fun and incredibly enjoyable, and I would recommend it. I would say I would bring this, if I had it on DVD or on Blu-ray, to a friend's place and watch it with a bunch of buddies. It is so fun. It is really fun, but it's incredibly stupid. So yeah, check it out. You guys should check it out. It's a good time. It's a very good time. So with all that being said, my name is Dylan. Thank you guys so much for watching. Dylan has movies. I have movies.